This is my 1995 Mitsubishi 3000 GT Spider, the twin turbo conversion. What I'm showing off is this thing right here. It's a digital climate control unit, and they look familiar to some people. Should look a lot like the unit that came in the 1998 and 1994 VR4 models. But you'll probably spot some differences, some extra buttons that wouldn't be there for a 98, 99 version, and that's because this actually came from a Diamante core. Actually, this one came from an FTO, but there's a number of different models that use the same kind of design. You can see one right here. So it's retrofitted to fit exactly in place of the original climate control. This guy here, and but this one has something a little bit more unique to it, so let's turn it on. You can see. Okay. So what this is a completely retrofitted unit that's been essentially hacked into, and it's fitted with a real LCD TFT screen. And it's taking the data lines from the climate control and it's reprinting that digitally to the TFT screen. And it's all controlled by a microprocessor, and there's a little unit behind the radio here that I'm going to show you, which is where all the controls happen. So I'll take that out right here and take a look inside. And a little hard to see, but here's the unit, and there's two plugs that come out of the climate control, and this is where our microcontroller is, and that's what's doing all the processing to right to the TFT screen. So it works the same. It's a complete brand new design. We created all on our own, and you know, all the functions essentially work like a normal climate control would. The outer ring is the fan speed. You got the inner ring. Put this on auto. This is cold, so you can see this is actually a European unit because of the Celsius units, but it works just the same with Fahrenheit. So the cold ring gets, you know, this is neutral. It's actually green. It doesn't show up correctly on the screen on the recording. And then hot. So it'll do all the adjustments just like it should, just like a normal climate control would. And we've made a harness that makes it 100% plug and play. It's a little dark, you probably can't see it in there, but it's actually plug and play. But you'll see even down to where the lock compressor unit is, that little tiny computer that goes underneath the passenger side kick panel. We have the connectors for that too. And the connector that would normally go in the back of this unit here, they're actually the same connectors. It's not this one we don't need, but this one here, and the one that goes in the AC lock compressor computer, they're the same connector, and so we ordered those, and it's 100% plug and play. There's not a single cut wire on the original harness. So if you can notice here, there's actually something else here. There's a serial port on here, and that's what really makes this thing 100% unique. This should look familiar to some, this little controller. Unfortunately, it's dark. This will make a ding, but maybe you can see for a little bit. That's a Black Stealth LCD controller, and we worked with Black Stealth to basically get our unit, the TFT screen, to work with his boost controller logger unit. So what we'll do here is I have a little serial cable coming out of here, and we can hook that up. Right in there. Plug the other end into the Black Stealth unit here, and what we get is a whole new set of functionality out of this thing. You probably couldn't see it, but there's, open that door again, maybe you can, maybe you can't, but there's a button right here. It's a little push button, and if you push the push button, you're going to get a new screen. And this is really cool. It's basically, you know, the same thing that Black Stealth's unit would have. It's just displayed in a TFT screen type format, and you know, the wideband gauge looks like a real wideband gauge, and that's on the right. And on the left hand side there's a boost gauge, and the really exciting part is our processor is pretty fast in this thing, so what you get on the screen appears a lot faster, and it's a lot more useful information. And I can show that if I just blow into the boost line on the boost controller, you'll see it act almost instantly. So yeah, I mean, you can see it was faster than you would need to see if you were just trying to view the information with the human eye. So you'll also see that it peaked there, and it actually records the peak PSI, and if you hold that button in again to the side, you can actually reset that peak, and that way you can just kind of monitor where your boost is peaking at, which is a cool feature. So so here's the rotary switch that would normally come with the Black Stealth unit, and down at the bottom you'll see that's all the normal information you would get from his unit, and there's a number of things, just tons of stuff. I could never even go through everything that's in here, but it's all available right there. So it's a completely functional unit, all integrated into the boost, or the digital climate control. So we have one more screen. This is pretty cool, but we kind of put this in here just to really test the limits of what we could do with this thing. And what this is a little graph, and I can't yet show this yet because my car is not really in running condition at the moment. But what it is it'll plot AFR versus boost over a certain RPM band between 200 and 9,000 RPM. And the way that works is it asks you to hold the button to trigger. So again, it's that button over here. Press that down to trigger. Now it's waiting for throttle. It'll actually read the throttle in. So if I push the gas pedal down, it starts acquiring data. Now normally if we were actually running and RPM was appearing, we'd actually have a plot of data really appearing on the screen. And this is kind of a really cool quick check. You know, you do a pass on the freeway and you can check kind of where your AFR is sitting with respect to how much boost you're hitting at whatever RPM. Fun little feature, you know, it's is what it is. And you know, if we were up and running, I could actually show this, but it's not going to acquire any data without the car running. So you press it again, and it just brings you back to your, focus here, just brings you back to the climate control screen. So that's it. You got a bunch of screens and just a whole ton of functionality. You know, it makes it so I wouldn't need this gauge here. I don't need this gauge here. You don't need any gauges. You could just run purely off of this thing, which is nice. It just makes it so you can have a real stock, clean looking car with just a ton of functionality in one location. So that's it for now.